Welcome to another episode of the GSatTrack How-To series. In this video, we're going to cover how to use GSatTrack to make you aware of unauthorized movement to prevent theft. To begin, we're going to come into GSatTrack, going to go to Add Item. Next, we're going to go to Add Alert, and then we're going to come over here and choose Movement. So what we're trying to do here is assess when movement takes place that is unauthorized. This will let us know that somebody is either taking a vehicle or a vessel or a particular toolbox that we have tracking device attached to, so we can be notified that this device is moving at a time that it's not sanctioned to do so. So I'm actually going to also call it unauthorized movement. Next, the description is going to be the same. And the resolution procedure is going to be called the Office to Verify Movement. I'm not going to attach a photo to it, although I certainly could if I was looking at one particular unit, or maybe I wanted to assign it to a boat or a car that was being watched. I'm then going to apply the alert to all assets. None of my assets should be running between the hours of, let's say, 8 and 6 a.m. All of the, if I was a rental company, maybe all of my devices have come in at the time, and I shouldn't be worried about theft at that moment. So we're going to create a filter around this as well. So I've applied to all assets, no exclusions. I'm then going to go in and create a filter for the time. So I want to be notified between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. whether or not there's been any activity. So I can just come in here, select 8 p.m., set that down to, actually, we'll give ourselves a buffer and say 7 a.m. and then add the filter. Now that that's there, this is only going to alert during that time frame. So we have a clear understanding of when this alert is actually going to trigger. And if it's happening during this time, we can assume that it's theft or unauthorized. Next, I'm actually going to change the cooldown period to 15 minutes, which means that I can't get the same triggered alert in the same amount of time. So it has to wait 15 minutes before triggering another movement alert. Once I've had that first one, I'm okay. Next, I've got my acknowledgements. I'm going to actually say yes. I want on the screen when I log into GSatTrack, I want to know that that's happened. Next, I'm going to choose a priority level. I'm going to say it's number 2. It's important, but it's not the most important thing that should be displaying on my portal. I could go ahead and change the color. Not really so much concerned with that. And I can also change some of the acknowledgement buttons. Next, I have to notify who is going to be alerted when there's this unauthorized movement that could potentially lead to theft. So I'm going to go ahead and click Abby and myself. Next, I also want to be alerted when the alert is no longer triggered, and also when it's been acknowledged in the portal, which means somebody's addressed it. Next, set notifications until alert is acknowledged. The first one should be good enough. I've set a marker in there that I'm not going to get another one for another 15 minutes. So if it starts and stops, I can be notified again. So if it's a piece of construction material, they've loaded onto the truck, it stops at a light and then starts again, I'm not going to be notified, but afterwards I will. And so those start and stop instances of movement, they're going to be displayed on the portal. And I'll show you how that's done in just a moment. When the alert is triggered, do I want to perform an action? I'd say no. So now that we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and create the alert. So now that the alert is created and it's set to all my devices, I know confidently that if any of my devices are triggering movement between the hours of 8 and 7 a.m., that chances are there's either theft going on or someone is in the building and they shouldn't be, and they're moving stuff that they should not. But how do I view that? There's a couple of different ways. So the first one is to come into our live mode, all assets, the notification. I'm just going to go to the last 7 days to give you an example of a notification. Just hit show, that's fine. And from there, what we're going to see is we're going to see up top, right here where it says alerts, we would get the alert that would show us that an event was triggered. We'd also be notified by the event itself. So a couple of different places, we're going to see that movement took place. Now, another way you can understand the information being provided is to see if there was any theft or unauthorized movement is to come in and actually run a report. In this case, I want to know if there's anything happening overnight. And if I don't want that late night alert to trigger, maybe it's not quite as important, I want to let the insurance companies know first thing in the morning, I can go ahead and run either a fleet trip report, which will give me all the information for those particular assets over a given time. I'm going to start by going ahead and scheduling it. I do have to give it a name, so I'm going to call it movement overnight. So the type, again, I'm going to do that fleet trip report. Frequency, I'm actually going to do it on a daily basis. I'm going to send it to myself at 12 a.m. Actually, I'm going to send it to myself so when I start my day. So I'm going to change it to 8 a.m. And then I'm going to set the active dates for just, again, the last 24 hours. So I'm going to run this. Today's the 15th. I'll put it on the 14th to start, hit done. That'll give me that day date range. And I'm applying it to all assets in this case. They're moving during that time. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in the email. So if I go ahead and put this in here and I see any movement during that time, sales@gsat.us will be notified. You can put in additional emails also by, just like you'd assume, putting in a little comma there and then adding in another one. They don't actually have to be contacts in order to be notified for this particular report. Once that's done, go ahead and click Create Scheduled Report. Now, what does this mean? This means I have an alert set up to notify me if there's any unauthorized movement. I've got a report that's going to come to me daily to let me know if there's been any unauthorized movement. And overall, I have a solution for understanding what my devices are doing and if there's any potential for threat. That's our first video in our how-to series about a feature and function and how it actually gets applied. Thank you very much. Have a great day.